100% on whenever a client makes, especially initially, a revision, a suggestion for revision, it's almost always a good decision. It's like,
right.
I need these backgrounds up because this is supposed to be fuller here. Okay, cool. I heard it this way, but this is your vision, So now, I hear what you're saying now. That's really cool. So I like it. I like it as well.
Nice. I wanted to actually ask you about efficiency, and I know you already kind of brought it up a bit, about like the hourly rate and all that stuff. Because I was like looking at your website, biggermixes.com, and you kind of post your rates flat on the website, how it is. And I was thinking that, for a guy that's like, mixed these DaBaby records, like there must be some sort of efficiency thing that you're able to kind of put into your process to make it like not be crazy long hours, which you've kind of already said so. So like, what else other than the
track preset stuff?
Yeah, like what else are you doing to kind of save time while you're mixing?
Well, one of the things I did was an understanding of how this works. I have a firm understanding of like workflow of what needs to be done when I hear a track. I've done so many mixes. Like I know how to deal with 2 tracks. I know how to deal with if they're stemmed out, and there are flat rates for mixes that are more than a certain amount of tracks. But there's not a whole lot of tracks out there that are more than 50 tracks now, especially like in hip hop and band stuff.
Right.
That's different. But one of the things was the second album. So Kirk, the one that went number 1 from DaBaby, we mixed that one in about 12 hours.
Whew.
We mixed the
whole record.
He sat in there. And we mixed the whole top to bottom in about 12 hours. And then,
that's amazing.
And then I went in another room and almost passed out. And my buddy Danny did the clean edits for me while I passed out. And then we came back and got everything ready, just into mastering, and got all the deliverables ready, because you have to submit the mix stems. You got to submit the mix sessions. Everything has to be labeled, everything, all the different bounces. So we did all that. And it was less than 24 hours we did that. So, and that album went number 1. Now, it wasn't my favorite mixes ever, it just is what it is. And I realized, okay, so it's about, look at efficient. Like, what do you love? What do I love? I love to go to tropical islands and eat all the food. At this point in my life, that's what I have a partner. She's amazing. And I want to see the world with her. And we've already begun to see the world. And so I have to be as efficient as I can be at a certain level of quality, and that's it. We're providing a service at a certain quality level. And so you learn how to do that. It's like when I work on things with other artists that I want to do, like there's a couple R&B artists. I really like R&B. I've always been super into neo soul and stuff. Like when I'm working with them, that's when I try out that new plugin. That's when I try out this new technique I've been, that popped up that I want to try. When I'm in business mode and doing it, I'm like, I'm going to efficiently pump you out a product. It's going to be a good product, but it's going to be, I'm going to do it how I know how to do it.
Right.
If that makes sense. It's not, so when I'm doing, like if I'm on bigger mixes, someone sends that in, that's not my time to explore.
Right. It's the passion projects that kind of give you that space
100%.
to go all in and do like those extra little science experiments, and then when it's business time with like the major labels or whatever, it's business time, and that's it. You just do your thing.
That's right. And because the labels, I know what the labels want. They've sent me the reference. I can hear what they want.
Right. Yeah.
And so a lot of times, even with label mixes, I'll come on and I'll leave on what they have. If it's a Pro Tool session, I'll leave it on. I'll leave their settings on. Unless it's over compressed somewhere. Like I'll just leave it on and I'll start doing like some EQing, like some subtractive EQing to get rid of some, maybe some harsh spots, or if there's like a little mud in it, then I might sweeten it up with a compressor here or there. I'll leave their reverbs on, because I'm not, and I'll mainly focus on the depth of the drums. I also focus on mastering. So understanding mastering is a huge plus for a mixer. To the point now where I like actually get mastering projects from major labels. And I'm just in the box on Pro Tools on a laptop or a computer. I use headphones. I don't even use, I have a pair of Barefoots at the studio that I don't use. They're for pictures. They sound cool, but
Whoa, what are you mixing on?
I use Bayer Dynamic, the DT770s. I mix into that,
What?
and I use the Sonar Works 4.
Yeah,
Before that, my dog back when ate the cord on my last pair of 770s for about a year. I mixed on some AKG K52s. They're like a $40, $50 pair of headphones.
No shit.
I had plenty of songs that went gold or platinum on those.
That's insane.
Yeah, I
Dude,
really
that's crazy.
But is it? It's not, because you can control the environment that you're in. You don't have to worry about the acoustics. You don't have to worry about mixing something different than what you hear it once you learn it. Because we're always, I've been in $1 million studios, with top of the line gear, and I still didn't get a better mix than in the room I was used to mixing in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like once you learn that room, once you learn those headphones, SonarWorks does a really good, I think that's what it's called.
SonarWorks.
Reference or the headphone, whatever it is.
ID reference or something.
Yeah, I use reference 4, but there's a newer version. I just don't care to update anything in case it, if something doesn't work, it's like, it messes up my workflow and makes me upset. But I just pop that on. That corrects most of the stuff, and then understanding, okay, well, there's a little boost around 10K in these headphones. Okay, so I don't want to always notch that out, just because it's a little bit irritating to me. I need to make sure that I leave that in, So after like 4 or 5 mixes, you really lock in where you're at with these things. And plus, if I need to go out of town, I got my setup. I'm not like, I'm not used to these speakers. I need time. I need to go through all these references. I'm like, nah, fuck that. We're good. Even if I want to mix it and then run some stuff through the speakers so that they can hear, I'll leave the headphones on. You know what I mean? And I can do some stuff like that. Not usually, but that's kind of the workflow on it. And
I get it, man. Yeah, I got these Sennheiser HD 600s, which are
I heard
super
those
nice.
are good.
My mastering engineer uses them, and he recommended them. And I kind of also with these Sonys, which are the most like fatiguing headphones in the business.
Yeah.
I'm using the outputs on my RME. My RME has like built-in DSP, so I actually use like EQs that I figured out that kind of match my Focal monitors, basically.
Nice. Yeah, and that's a perfect way to do it, and that's a way to correct room issues, things like that. And you don't have to have this $1 million setup. Although I am a fan of conversion. Conversion's super important.
Oh, for sure.
Like I said, I have I have the Footprint 01, right? So it's an affordable, not the cheapest model they make, but it's still a $4,000 pair of speakers.
No, not cheap. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't use them. The $200 headphones do just fine. I get amazing vocal mixes with headphones, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
I get a better vocal mix on headphones than anything. The main issue you're going to run into is panning with headphones sometimes, or like you're not getting like maybe the crosstalk between the two as well.
Right.
So sometimes stereo image things, but I've never went to mixing on headphones and somebody was like, yeah, something's not right. It's not the same. You know? Nobody's ever like, are you using something different? Is it, nobody's ever said that. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I know people are mastering on headphones now, right? Like it's what's his name? Glenn Schick famously did it with the Odyssey headphones. And I spoke with Chris Graham on my podcast, who is like only mastering with Odyssey headphones now. And so it's a thing, Yeah. And it's being done. Andrew Sheps.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Andrew Sheps, I think, was like the first like very famous person that kind of said like, oh yeah, I'm just mixing on the Sonys because I know them,
And that's all it boils down to. It's like, do you know the equipment that you're using? Do you know the gear? Do you know? I don't have to know the room because I got the headphones. Working things like transient depth and detail, like I can hear them in it. Like some people are like, oh, it's not the same. It's like, yeah, it's not the same, but I can hear it. I'm giving you a good product. I know this. Whenever I mix what I mix on headphones and take it to a studio, it sounds flawless. So, when I nail a mix in the headphones, but when I nail a mix in a studio and bring them back in the car and in the headphones, it doesn't always translate the same.
That's because the room is lying, or you just don't know the speakers.
And it could be the humidity. It could be
right
how you're feeling that day, or it could be the people that are around. The amount of people in the room can affect it. You know what I mean? And with these, like, repeatable variables yield repeatable results. That's just how things work for the most part. So with the headphones, I can repeat this variable every time. Therefore, I can make adjustments where I need to make adjustments because the variables are always the same.
Right. Yes, that's exactly it. It's like a science experiment, right? Right. You don't have to worry about all those other variables, like you said. And that's what Chris Graham was saying when he was on the podcast. Also, same thing. Just like I know exactly how these sound every time in my ears because there's nothing else at play. Literally, like just how you said it.
100%.
And yeah, I totally feel that. The only problem for me with headphones is I do find them more fatiguing than monitors. Even comfortable pairs of headphones, I find like it's hard for me to wear them for more than like an hour or two at a time.
See, I don't have that. I feel that way with monitors. I get burned out on monitors.
That's so interesting.
Mm-hmm. But also, I'm not mixing super loud. I check it. I check depth at loud volumes, but I'm like at a medium. A medium range. So, and then plus these Bayer Dynamics, also with the Sonar Works, they do a good job of really flattening what you're listening to. Yes. And that's why I always recommend like using that from the start, because you can always learn your headphones. But if you're going to use something like the DSP that you're using to redo it, to calibrate your system.
I'm just using 3 bands, right? I'm like these Sennheisers don't have enough low end, and they don't have enough like high end presence, so I'm bumping like 60 hertz ish, and then like 2.5 and like 5 ish.
Yeah, see the 2.5 for me, like that's a super irritating frequency. Like I loathe.
I mean, these are audiophile headphones, right? That's why they have them dipped out. Right. But like I need to hear that, right?
Correct.
I need to hear that.
Correct.
Yes, exactly, because the mid range is key, right?
Yeah. So but whatever you're using, try to keep those variables consistent. So if you have a room that you're mixing out of, you learn it. If you're using headphones, learn them.
Yes.
And if you have a car, learn it. Like if you're popping it in there, car is always a good test. But
AirPods are a good test, by the way. Also,
they are too. I lose them, man. I just lost a pair recently. I washed them in the washing machine.
Pain in the ass. Yeah.
So, but they're weird. They make it sound like it's coming from inside your brain. It's an interesting thing. But
but it's how most people are listening to music these days, right?
Right. Or like you pull it up on the phone. Like I just listen to it as an MP3 on the phone.
Sometimes, yeah.
And I'm just
Sometimes
like, okay, because it's got to kind of sound good on all of them. And then, because most of the time you're going to hear these things on, now at this point, social media, like Instagram, TikTok, those type of things. Like, does it sound cool on the phone?
Right.
Just getting played out of the phone speakers.
For better or worse, totally. Yeah.
100%.
I wanted to dive into something a little bit more specific in terms of your mixing approach, or like sound at least. I did notice, like, when I Googled your name, right, like there's articles talking about like the Charlotte sound, quote unquote, and I noticed that there's something that happens with your like 808s that are just like super saturated and almost like flabby, but like in a very cool way. Like, what's your thought process about, like, I guess approaching 808s and low end and getting that kind of what from what I heard was kind of like the sound that I kept hearing?
I don't know if I do a specific approach to like 808s in general, but I would say it's more has to do with like the mastering chain that I use. Mm-hmm. So my process in general is kick first, and I use an RMS meter. So I know LUFS is more accurate and it's what things are based off, but RMS is it's pretty close to that. And at the same time, it's used forever. And also like if you depending on how a VU meter is calibrated, I know where it needs to be at to where if I do go to analog gear that I'll be, right around 0 VU or, within that range of what I'm looking for. Because, in the analog world, you have actual saturation after 0, not just clipping in a sense. So with all that being said, I'm focusing on these certain levels, which are typically around negative 18 RMS on the kick. Now that's an instantaneous RMS. It's not RMS across the length of the song. This is pre-mastering levels. It's all right to nerd out, right? Like,
as nerdy as you feel like going. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah. So with that being said, it's usually around negative 20 to negative 18 is where, like, when I'm watching this RMS reader, I use the T-Rack CS metering. I don't even think you can get it anymore. I don't know how to get it anymore. I've tried to put it on other computers. It doesn't work, but it's working on this one. So that's always kind of hitting in the range. And then my peaks on the kick, I'm putting them at about negative 5. That's sort of kind of like the transient detail because I'm really big on depth. And the only way you're going to get depth in mixes is from over-exaggerated transient detail pre-limiter, because the limiter is going to squash it down, So what I do is I kind of that's like a base setting for my kicks. It's got to feel right, but it's like, okay, well now it feels good, but I can tell the RMS is like at a negative 12. I'm like, okay, that's too much bass. That's too much low mids, So I need to adjust that. I need to see what's going on. So I get the kick where it needs to be, and then the snare. And I focus on the peak of the snare, and then I drop the 808 in. And I usually just leave the 808 the vibe that it is. Sometimes I might distort it. Sometimes I might add, if anything, I might add R bass, or I might